Hey, this week Doc Searles joins me and we talk with Olaf and Dave about Liferay, a project that's a little difficult to pin down. It started with the idea of portals, but has grown into a basic building block for building any sort of experience on the web. You don't want to miss it, so stay tuned. This is FLOSS Weekly, episode 795, recorded August 6th, Liferay. Now we're thinking with portals. Hey folks, it is time for FLOSS Weekly. That's the show about free, Libre, and open source software. I'm your host, Jonathan Bennett, and we've got a fun, Java-filled show today once again. It is not just me, though. We've got Doc Searles, the one and only, the OG. Hey, Doc.
More O than G. A lot more O than G.
Yeah, well, I feel that way some days. Now, you've described your day today as a death march. You've got something going on that you're feverishly getting ready for.
Yeah, there's an annual event put on by the Internet Archive called DWeb Camp, for Distributed Web Camp. And it's at Camp Navarro. It's up in Northern California among the redwoods, where it's fun to see people coming from other countries where all they're doing is standing around looking straight up, wondering why how weird these trees are.
They're looking for the cloud up there.
They're looking for the cloud, or they think the Ewoks are coming. Because,
there you go.
Because that particular episode of Star Wars, the Star Wars movies, was filmed in the redwoods.
Oh, okay.
But this is much less lush. This is more like dirt on the ground rather than, logs and moss. But yeah, but it's fun. It's a fun camp, but I'm giving a talk early Thursday morning there, and I've got a whole thing I'm doing on it. And I'm not ready, so there's that.
Understand.
Plus, it's also weird because I'm in the middle of Indiana, and not much different where you are, where it's hot. It's the summer here. It's hot, and it doesn't get cold at night. It stays warm because there's humidity, and in that part of California, it might be 90 in the daytime, or 30 something for those of you elsewhere. I now give my age as 22.5 Celsius, actually. So
I like that.
Yeah. So that's about how old I am.
There you go.
Anyway, yeah, but it's cold at night there, so I'm bringing my flannel PJs.
Yeah. All right, fun. Well, so we've got an interesting topic today. We're going to be talking about Liferay, and Liferay, from what I gather, is sort of difficult to put a pin in exactly what it is. It's a low-code digital experience portal, which sounds very buzzwordy, and I think it sounds that way just because they try to do so much. Have you gotten a few minutes to look over this, Doc?
I've had a few minutes to look over the briefing. I'm not hacky enough to have downloaded anything or do any of that. For our guests, I worked for Linux Journal for 24 years, but I was like the business editor, so not a technical guy.
And I think this is going to be a very sort of business-oriented show, which is why I particularly chose you out to be here. I think it'll be real fascinating. Let's go ahead and bring the guys on, though, because obviously we can sit here and talk about what we think it is, but we've got the experts right here. So we've got Dave Nebinger and Olaf Koch. Welcome to both of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
All right, let's start with this kind of overarching 30,000-foot view question. What is Liferay? What do you do with it? What problem does it solve?
If we tag team, we probably get most of it.
Okay.
Going historically, started as a portal, and in times when you could not put different individual pieces on a web page, and it continues to develop into the many different things. Like on the business side, we call it digital experience platform, because that's the rage. That's more than a portal. That combines content management system, that combines identity management, all kinds of single sign-on stuff that you might want to build your application with. And then it gets a lot of features. So it's not a single tiny bit that does a little bit for you, but it's a full application. So we built in several techniques to extend the whole platform, to integrate external software. And part of that is now being done through low-code environments or no-code environments. So you can easily build form-based applications through that environment. And so that makes it hard to really grasp. And we've had a couple of fun usages of that where it actually doubled as one of the systems that you typically integrate with it. So let's say you typically integrate with a single sign-on platform, but there is a plugin that can also mask Liferay as a single sign-on platform. But that's like a really niche thing. Dave, what have I forgotten?
Well, to hit more of the buzzwords, we're a CMS, we're a digital asset management platform, and obviously low code that Olaf already mentioned. It's really, like you said, it's hard to put a pin in what Liferay actually is because it can be so much, from a simple hosting platform akin to WordPress all the way up to a complex enterprise platform for building and hosting custom applications that an organization may need, but they don't want to waste all of their time building common capabilities like security and authentication and permissions and styling and those kind of things that application developers typically need. The platform kind of encapsulates all those details. So you bring your custom applications, and Liferay takes care of all that supporting stuff for you.
Does Liferay fit in sort of the same niche that something like a Nextcloud would? Is it sort of that same idea? I don't know if you're familiar with Nextcloud.
Not too much, but I would say it's more than like I haven't seen that comparison. So we're not competing with them on any market. Mm-hmm. It's rather literally an application which then integrates something, has one web front end. So think of it as a web server that brings in content from other applications. Like you have your ERP in the background, you have your CRM in the background. Recently, I've been using the customer portal use case where you come in as a customer or as a citizen to your city's website, and you want to tell them, hey, there's a pothole on the street. So what do? The city needs a ticket, but no citizen would like to file a ticket and then see all of that metadata mess with 25 fields. So in the citizen portal, you'll have a front end that says, hey, where's the pothole? Oh, it's here. How bad is it? Fire it away. So you get a separate front end to some external back end, which handles all of the ticketing and metadata and so on. But you simplify it for the actual front end user.
Okay.
And they don't need to leave that website or that portal in order to do something else. Like, I'll need a new passport. I'll need this or that. You can do all on the same platform, even though in the back end it's vastly different things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, as you guys are explaining it, the three-letter acronym that jumped into my mind was an IDE. Is that term even used anymore? Does it describe what you were doing?
We're not really an IDE in that you're developing software for somewhere else. The Liferay platform at its core is serving up web applications, JSP pages, all the way through React, Angular, other JS frameworks. It's a hosting platform that provides a number of services to make it easier for those applications to be built and hosted so that developers don't have to include those aspects in their own application.
Mm-hmm. Does Liferay work as the web host itself, or does this sit on top of something like Apache?
We use Tomcat, so we're leveraging Tomcat and other JEE-based servers. We're also compatible with like JBoss and WebLogic and some of the other big players.
Okay, so this would be in the Apache world. We would build something like this probably in PHP. But you guys are in the Java ecosystem, and so it's all built in Java and then working with the existing Java tools. Interesting.
It is, but we're not limited to Java. Through our extension platform, you can bring extensions using any language that you're familiar with. If you want to build a .NET extension, you can do that. If you want to do all of your development using React, Angular, Vue.js, that's fine. We support that. And
Cool.
you can leverage the host of Liferay services in your application to implement what you need without having to reinvent the wheel each time.
Okay. So it really is then it's like a CMS, but it's a CMS that is very much targeted at building like a dashboard and even a customer experience at the same time.
Yeah, let's say the content that is managed by a CMS, the content can be very active, can be an application.
Mm-hmm.
And the content receives some services from the platform. One example is, like, why would you need a platform when you can build a perfectly fine React application yourself?
Right.
Well, let's say you need a user identity. So yeah, that's fine. You can sign in, you can sign out. That's fine. For you, like, if you build on this platform, you get one kind of user identity. And if later on you decide, actually, I don't want to bother with any password anymore, I'll outsource that to some single sign-on system. The user identity that the application interfaces with stays exactly the same. When you say, oh, we want, we've started in a very small environment, but we want to change now to an LDAP system, then the user identity stays exactly the same, but it's now fueled by LDAP. And if the company merges and decides to now bring in two LDAP or N LDAP systems, then yeah, who cares? You still deal with one user identity that comes with permissions, services, and so on. And that user identity is what you use in your front-end application. No matter if they are authenticated by a single sign-on system, multi-factor authentication, what the password policy on those is, if they come through LDAP, and so on. So there's the value for building on a platform.
Yeah. What did the origin of Liferay look like? Like, what was the initial problem that? And I'm curious, were one of you two at the beginning? Did either of you guys write the first lines of code? And then what did that look like?
No, we're actually veterans, so but both of us are not there to write productive code on the platform. I'm with a company now for 14 years and a bit. Dave is a little bit shorter, but he has been working with the product since forever. The actual product started around the year 2000 when Brian, the company founder, needed a website for his church.
Oh, interesting.
And he completely nerded out, over-engineered everything. And you can imagine a church website actually needs to perform really well. And performing really well in the 2000s, or in 2000, actually meant, when you know Java, what does it mean? EJB. So it went all the way in and completely over-engineered. He solved the problem. I'm actually not sure that the church website was ever served by Liferay.
Right.
I don't know, but that's the origins. And then people found it and asked for support, or contributed something, asked for help setting it up. And from then on, it completely it went hockey stick and up, so to say. In 2004, there was a company that was founded, or the company was founded, and it's now, actually I didn't count them, I'd say 20 offices worldwide, so lots of local companies. And what else is there? The formerly purely open source version then turned into a dual licensed offering, so the open source and a commercial offering, which in my eyes, I was around. I was at exactly the event where it was announced, and it totally made sense to me, because up until then they had like 10, 12 customers that were all on different branches. I think it was Subversion back then. So everybody had their own branch.
Yeah.
So bringing on yet another customer and another one and another one and another one with their own branches does not really make sense. So you want them all on a single branch or on like a limited number of branches, and you can have an unlimited number of customers. And they want longer support, and they want to have someone who is responsible, who says, we're responsible for what we do. So that started the back then so-called Enterprise Edition. And as I've started with EJB, when Enterprise Edition came in, EJB was already long out. So coming back to the code side, there is no more EJB in there. Don't worry. It now is a modern platform, but it could still serve your church's website.
Yeah, interesting.
If you remember the early 2000s, the primary interface that everyone was going for was really the screen with a primary content and then a number of boxes on the side, either on the right side or on the left side. And this was the kind of interface you'd see if you went to CNN.com or Yahoo News or any of those kind of things. And out of that, there was a big push to adopt what were called portals. And there was a Java specification to define what a portal was. And when you look at Liferay, Liferay had looked at what was available from a Java portal perspective, but there was really no good open source alternatives out there. And our platform was built as an open source implementation of the specification for a portal container that would host portlets. And that's where it started from. But these days, it is so much more that we don't even call it a portal anymore. It's a DXP because of all the capabilities that it now has.
So I'm wondering, okay, so a digital experience platform, I guess that's what that stands for. Is anybody else using that? Do you have any direct competitors? So you have a category called DXP, and there's you guys, and there's that one, and that one, and that one. Where's that at?
Adobe is probably the biggest one that folks will lean to when they're learning about DXP platforms. But us compared to Adobe, we're open source. They're not. We're an integrated platform because all of our capabilities we built and add to the platform natively. So the whole usage across the platform is consistent. Adobe kind of purchased theirs and pieced them together. So they're more of a hodgepodge, shall we say, and moving around between the different components is often not as cohesive as what you might see in the Liferay platform. But there's others in the Magic Quadrant by Gartner that also do DXP platforms. But we are the only open source player in that market.
Is it a Magic Quadrant of DXPs, or there are DXPs in a? Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting.
What license is the project go with?
So we have two licenses. We use LGPL for the community edition. We also have a it's a special license that for the commercial aspect
the commercial
of things.
One, yeah.
Is this an open core project? Like, are there bits that are in the commercial offering that are not in the open source part?
The way the code works now, the repository has everything, both the open code as well as the not open, the commercial code. It's all in the repository. It's just the license that protects the usage of that in commercial situations.
And so what's the catch there, right? Like what's the difference? So, and I guess part of this question is why would someone want to come and use that commercial license?
Well, for the most part, the commercial aspect is going to bring support. It's going to bring access to our cloud-based offerings. We're unique in that you can self-host your platform, but we also have cloud offerings. The cloud offering is for the commercial side. So there's a number of reasons that an organization will say we want to go with the subscription to Liferay rather than the open source version.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
the
if
open source platform is just as capable on many aspects for hosting any kind of website. The big distinction between the two tends to be the enterprisey sort of capabilities that a client might need, such as using an Oracle enterprise database as opposed to an open source database like MySQL or Postgres. If they need enterprise connectivity for SAML or OpenID Connect, those kind of pieces will fall under the enterprise side. But for generic sort of open source connectivity, you can use the community edition for that.
And if I'm really nitpicking, then there is the price for the license, for the commercial, as well as for the open source version is exactly the same. The license is there for zero. What we do is the services subscription, which literally then is access to longer maintenance, to support, to get hot fixes on exactly the version that you're running, and so on. And then the service level on top of that. So yes, you can file issues on the open source version, but there is naturally no service level attached to that. We're very interested in that, but on the enterprise level, where we have a contract with our customers, we do guarantee a service level.
Makes sense.
So I'm curious about case histories. You mentioned the City of Vienna and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise on your website. But I'm interested in hearing about those kind of things, but also the open source ones where you're actually not involved, but you know they're there, and they're busy kind of proving your case. Can you go over some of those?
Yeah, from the community side, there's a major American automaker that for years had used Liferay to host their internal intranet. They built out a complete solution for all their employees to access. Much to our chagrin, of course, we would have preferred that they would have gone with the subscription model, but they were able to build their solution on the community edition. The flip side of that is, from the commercial side, we've hosted many different types of platforms, from a children's site that hosted games and videos and things that kids would be interested in, all the way up to websites for some of the U.S. military branches, enterprises of all kinds, banks, insurance, manufacturing. We also do intranet-based solutions, extranets, internet front-facing brochure websites. The platform is really flexible in how you can use it to solve any sort of web-based problem. And the fact that it's a DXP means we can provide the content regardless of what kind of device you come to us with. If you're on a mobile, you're going to get a responsive platform. If you're on a tablet, it's going to also be responsive versus a desktop. But ultimately, you're going to get the same kind of experience. And from a platform level, we can follow you across those devices and make sure that we are tailoring content and personalize it for each visitor so that we can help target them to meet whatever the business needs are.
I was wondering about, so it's interesting, when I went to your website, in my work as a journalist is basically around privacy, and I'm always looking at the cookie interfaces, and you guys had tracking cookies for targeting turned on by default, and I'm wondering if and I rejected it because I'm actually not in your market, so I thought, okay, well, I kind of don't feel like being tracked. How's it going with that? I'm just curious about if you have any intel, as it were, on people turning that on and off, or that helping or hurting your cause as people get into the websites, because websites are basically where you manifest for the most part, I would think.
Well, when you hit liferay.com, you must realize that is our marketing site. And the cookies that we're using there are designed to help us to promote our products to the right audience and then track how they respond to that information. It's not meant to, follow you throughout the web and use it for any nefarious purposes. It's more for our business aspect. And when you say you're not in our market, well, we like to think that everyone is in our market. Right? We're a worldwide company. We have offices all around the world. We have organizations using our platform for many different businesses and purposes. So we like to think that everyone is our market.
Well, I like to be in your market, but as somebody who's 22.5 years old Celsius, it's unlikely in the fullness of what's left of my time. But
you're still the person with the most browsers on a single computer. That
it seems that way.
King of the browsers.
Yeah. I just added DuckDuckGo, actually, as another browser I play with. So I want to. How can you say about how large your market is in terms of sales? I guess it's mostly enterprise sales. And if you can't, that's fine. You say you have a lot of offices, so you must be doing pretty well.
Yeah. So the last thing I've seen is I think it was more than 1,000 or 1,200 customers on it. We don't really follow that, or I don't really follow that closely because like a rough ballpark to me is enough. There is the one aspect I've mentioned, Brian as the founder of the project, and he's still around. And as Dave said, we're one of the few on this market who allow you to pick self-hosting or cloud hosting, PaaS or SaaS. All of that works for us, and we're committed to all of them. We're also one of, if not the only, large open source software company that is still operating completely and absolutely without any venture capital. So it's fully owner-owned or founder-owned, and there is nothing coming in. In fact, there were offers, but the story that I've heard about them was when the venture capital companies were asked, so assume you give us money, what should we do with it that we don't do already? They couldn't answer, so we...
And the additional thing is the community edition, we don't do any kind of tracking or tracing on. So you can download the community edition, use it in your business, use it in your church, use it in your interest group for whatever reason. We're not really going to have any visibility on that. So, you're kind of free to run away with that and use it as you like. From our side, though, obviously, we're not tracking and tracing that. So we don't really know how widely used the community edition is actually used out in the wild.
Yeah.
And as Dave said, Liferay.com is our marketing site. There is the community site, which is liferay.dev. And I haven't checked it, but if you look at that, I'm quite sure that there is no external tracking whatsoever. There might be the actual, we're using cookies. I think that's there, but I am not aware that we have configured any marketing tracking external thing there.
I just brought it up. Nothing happened. That's good. It's very old-fashioned that way. Oh, no, this website uses cookies to ensure you get the best experience. Learn
but there's
more
no third-party cookies that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Very good. I guess this is an opinion shared by many people, but I am so sick of this website uses cookies pop up, and every time I just say yes, put cookies on my computer. That's fine, because it's just a website storing a little bit of data on your machine to make the website. Like, that's how the web has always worked. I am very unhappy with European laws for cursing all of us with that dumb little pop-up. But that's an entire rabbit trail.
Yes.
The idea of venture capital is really interesting. So we've talked to some people that have had venture capital and it's worked for them. And then you also talk to people that have had venture capital and it really changes the project, or it changes the company that was started from an open source mindset. And then there's even now some venture capital groups out there that are like, the VC is intended to be friendly with open source. And I find it really fascinating that Liferay didn't ever have to go down that route. And I think probably why is just listening to you talk about it from the very beginning, when it was just, hey, let's build a portal for a church. It was the concept was sticky. There was something about it that when other engineers, when other web people heard it, they went, oh, that's cool. And is it still sticky? Do you still have that kind of aha moment when someone finally understands what it is that Liferay is? They go, oh, that's really cool. I could use that. Do you still get that?
We do, but it's changed over time, right? Initially, when you went to Google, you could search for portal software, and you would find WebSphere portal from IBM, and there were a number of other portal platforms that were out there that have gone the way of the dodo, right? They've all but disappeared. Liferay is the last one standing in that market. So, we don't even like to talk to Liferay as a portal platform, because it's not hip to be a portal platform. So now, obviously the market is more interested in DXPs and CMS, headless CMS, digital asset management, those aspects, low code, and everyone's favorite AI. So we're growing the platform over time to stay relevant and incorporate the kind of capabilities and functionalities that businesses are looking for in a platform such as ours. But that has changed how we have stayed relevant.
Yeah. Is there a big buy-in with AI in Liferay? Is that something that's here already or is coming?
We have a number of integration points already. When you're building CMS sites, you can leverage AI, generative AI, to help you build content. There are other aspects for allowing for image generation and auto translation features, which has really been a great help to many of our clients. We have one client that uses over 70 languages on their platform, and they leverage AI auto translation to previously, before that capability was in there, it would take them months to coordinate a release because they had to make sure that all the content had been correctly translated into the 70 languages. Now they're doing it in a matter of weeks because AI is allowing them to get that content translated into the languages they need. And then they're just coming in and reviewing and fixing the obvious problems that AI has with understanding correctly and translating correctly.
Yeah, I can say it's a good help for me, or great help for me. In my day job, I'm a sales engineer. So I'm always asked to demo the platform to various different people. And as much as AI can hallucinate whatever, I do not care about it being exact. To demonstrate the platform, it's totally easy to say, hey, write me 10 articles about how the financial world, like blog articles about how the financial world changed in the past 10 years. Make it 200 words and more. Go.
AI has replaced the lorem ipsum for you.
Absolutely.
That's exactly it.
That's great.
I have a lorem ipsum on my Stream Deck in front of me, but I'm rarely using it anymore.
Yeah, that's fun.
I even have bacon ipsum on there.
Bacon ipsum.
So inside your product, I mean, if in using AI there, I think you said you use it there, not just to help with marketing. Do you go to the Claudes and OpenAIs, or do you download a Llama and work with one of the open source alternatives?
No,
right now
we define interfaces for everything and then back that by implementations. So we have a generic interface that defines how to use generative text, for example. Internally, then, we will implement that in various different flavors, whether it's going to OpenAI or Claude or Gemini, when they have APIs that we can plug into and use. We have not yet built a module around a self-contained large language module. Not to say that we couldn't do that, but I think what you run into is having the muscle and the processing power to host that kind of thing on your own. I think generally the best consensus is to try to leverage one of those services rather than train and host your own.
And as the whole platform is built on those APIs, now the backend is built on OSGI or around OSGI. And I always like to stress that everything is based on an API. It is up to the customer as well to say, like, hey, this is a nice implementation, but why would I want my send data over to them? I want my data to stay here or to go to that provider. So the interface is open, and the whole platform allows you to just deploy a tiny module that then implements the interface to interface with the system that you want. That will be Java. Like on the OSGI side, yes, there will be a Java module. But more and more of those modules, we provide a headless interface for that you can just trigger from the outside, and then you're again on whatever language you want, because the only thing that's in common then is REST.
So I am poking around at some of your websites, and I find myself at liferay.dev, which is sort of the main open source community site. And I see down at the bottom, powered by the Liferay portal CE. And I always like seeing companies eat their own dog food, as we say. Is the Liferay portal used a lot internally for Liferay? Like how many instances of it do you think you guys have across the company?
Every hosting platform that we offer is running on Liferay.
Yeah, so a lot.
Yes, and honestly, eating our own dog food makes the product better because
absolutely.
We find the bugs that bother us, and we fix those. So having ourselves as our own customer just makes the product that much better, more stable, resilient, and secure.
It's
and
always
that also. I'm sorry, but that also means when we extend this out to clients, they're getting the same level of support and security and everything that we need for our own business. So
yeah, it's always a little worrying actually when you interview a company. When you talk to a company that does open source that doesn't use their own open source project, you just have to wonder about that. It's like something went wrongs here somewhere along the way.
That's right.
I'm curious about scaling, right? Like, so you've got some big customers, and this is where really I reveal some of my ignorance about doing how Tomcat works, really, and how the Java ecosystem works. I'm curious, like, how big does this scale up to, and what does that look like?
How much money do you have?
Well, that's always the question now, isn't it?
Well, and I joke, but it will scale up as large as you need it to be. So if you have just a requirement for 1,000 concurrent users, you're probably going to use like a 2 cluster node for that. But if you have 10,000 concurrent users, or you want to protect it against being slash-dotted, you're going to go a lot larger there. But that's fine. Our platform is built around being stable and secure and steady in a clustered environment, so that it is returning the right data. Nothing is stale, returned out of any of the cluster nodes. It's really meant to be a resilient platform, regardless of the size that you need.
And I assume that the clustering is sort of built into it, or it's built into Tomcat, maybe?
No, it's built into the platform. So we have each node forms what we refer to as a mesh network. And there's messaging going back and forth saying, hey, I just saved this blog. If you have an old version, you should dump it. And, that kind of messaging is handled across the platform. So it becomes a very strong way to ensure that all nodes are up to date and always returning the latest content.
Yeah. And then do you have
technical-
multiple nodes sitting behind like a traffic manager, or are these
Typic-
separated out geographically and you use DNS to point people at different places? I'm just curious.
No, there's
However
typically
you
a load
want to do
balancer
it.
involved.
Yeah. Typically, it will, in simple cases, you're talking about just a small cluster with a load balancer sitting in front of it. But we do support doing geographically distanced regional centers where you're hosting Liferay. And depending upon what your requirements are, you can build all those kind of things, and they will work with Liferay.
All right.
I gotta say it's regional though, so it's not around the world. It's not one server for Europe, one for the Americas, and so on. But it's more or less regional. So it's in the end it operates on a consistent database, which can also be clustered, no matter what. So typically the best understood system that I see is a load balancer and then any number of nodes behind it. And it also works quite well with content delivery networks. So you can configure all kinds of caching headers and make sure that a request doesn't even hit the platform if it's not necessary.
Right.
But of course, if it's not publicly visible, you want the platform to be hit for every single download, for example, or access of a page. Not for all of the CSS and JavaScript, though.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, so to go in a different direction, I want to know about the community involvement. I guess particularly in the community edition, but I suppose this would apply to both of them, because the source is available even for the enterprise edition. So like, what's the community involvement look like? How many contributors are there outside of the company, and what does that look like?
Well, contributing to Liferay takes many forms, right? There's contributing just by joining the forums, joining the Slack channels, and answering questions and things like that. We count those in our community as contributors because they're helping to strengthen the community and build it out. From a platform perspective, we do accept and want to accept changes and pull requests from outside the organization. The challenge for us, which may be unique to pure open source projects, since our platform is also a product, it is the product that we sell. The challenge for us is how to accept those pull requests, how to accept those changes. And oftentimes it will require some iterations with the contributor to get it into a form that we can accept and approve and merge into the platform. Because once we get that merged in, we're taking over ownership and responsibility for that. So the challenge is often how do we take those submissions, how do we transform them so that they are enterprise level, enterprise quality, and then get them merged into the system. It's not the fast process that you might expect with a typical open source process, but it does exist.
Yeah.
There is another aspect to that, because everything is an API or has an API. One of the standard ways to extend the platform is to not at all build from source and contribute something to the core, because the core is built of, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, 1,000 plus modules, which is typically a separation of API modules and implementation modules and so on. And you can easily drop yet another module. They're tiny, they're small, and you can implement them just in addition, and they do not need to be developed or delivered with a core. You can put them on the marketplace, for example, or publish them on your GitHub or anywhere. So it doesn't need to be a contribution that puts something back into the core. That's the way I have started contributing, by number one, making suggestions, number two, publishing some random proof of concept things on the blog to show like, hey, I've tried something, this actually works. And fun fact, I've driven several of our developers nuts when they ask me if if something runs on master. And I said, I don't know. I've never built master. But like that now finally broke down after 14 years. I have compiled from source for the very first time because I wanted to contribute some code that I want to be in the core.
Yeah. So I've got to say, talking about the maybe the difficulty of contributing, the project has 929 contributors now. It's been around for a long time, but just looking, and this is just looking at Liferay portal, what seems to be the main GitHub repository. 929 contributors. That's pretty good. That's quite a few. Is there a CLA? Do you ask people to sign a CLA to contribute? I would assume you have to be able to do a license.
Yes.
Yeah, that's. I know some in the open source community are not happy about CLAs, and I understand why. But at the same time, when you're doing something with a big business like this, it makes a lot of sense. And I think the other thing with that, why people don't like them, is to sign a CLA and then the code license gets changed. People sometimes feel a little betrayed by it, but that's not the case here. You already have the licensing in place. People know what they're getting into when they send the pull request in. And so in my opinion, I think that makes CLAs even a little more palatable because everything is up front. You know exactly what it is. And the other thing I wanted to mention with that is I appreciate that the proprietary license is out there and available for people to look at. It's not something that's hidden. You don't have to agree to, you don't have to sign an NDA before you get to look at the license. And I appreciate that a lot. It's a testament that, the company actually believes in what they're doing. And you're not trying to strong arm people into it.
Yeah,
that
and
is an
all
aspect
of our license is really just to protect the product, right? We want to make sure that when you're using it, you're not like stealing and giving away our technology to somewhere else. That's all it is. It's not meant to hamper adoption of the product, either from a community or a product perspective.
There's also another aspect. So it almost led to me asking a third person on here, but he would be good for an episode all on his own. One of our legal team guys, the most nerdy lawyer that I know. So he is deeply enrooted in the open source ecosystem, and he gave us the hint that we actually sponsored. Now I'll have to look that up. I forgot the exact project. Some of the license scanners that actually go through everything and let you know if you are matching that license or if there's some foreign code in there. Dave, maybe you can look it up while I talk. It's Matthias' answer to it. And these guys came back to us and well, basically we paid them to build all of their code for the Java instance. As far as I understand that, Matthias would be the authority on that. And with our code, like with that code base of 1,000 modules of God knows how many lines of code they basically have seen it all. So that tool now should be quite rock solid with regards to Java.
Yeah, interesting.
Did you find it?
Yeah, it would be scancode.io and reuse.software.
There you go.
That's
cool.
it. Yeah.
Do you guys ever see things in the proprietary license, the enterprise edition, make it into the community edition? Is there kind of a flow where things go down that way after? And I know some businesses, some projects have this codified, like we build it for the enterprise, and then once we make X amount of money with it, it goes into the community edition. I always thought that was an interesting way to approach it. Is there anything like that in Liferay?
I want to nitpick there and say no, because it's better.
Okay.
It's all out in the open anyway. Like the code is dual licensed, and to cut a release, the one thing that we do with the Enterprise Edition is we have bi-weekly releases that are bug fixes and that go quite a while back. While on the community side, we do provide the quarterly releases. And if there is an emergency, there was none for a while, then yes, we'll do that as well. But on the community side, you're typically on the latest version. And but all of the code, if you compile master, this is what goes into the next release, both at the same time.
Oh,
basically.
okay. So there's not. It literally is not open core then. There's not anything missing out of the community edition.
There's
No,
like one
so
code base.
there's nothing that could
Okay.
trickle out because
Okay.
it's all the dual license anyway.
I gotcha. I misunderstood the way that worked then. I'm glad we cleared that up. All right, Doc, is there anything that you want to make sure and get in? I think you had one or two more questions.
Well, I mean, one is when you're, Olaf, you're saying you're a sales engineer, but when you're showing off what Liferay can do, what do you point to? I mean, what are your canonical examples? I mean, I look at your customers. You've got some pretty heavy customers there, and you have Jose Cuervo, so that beer, and Carrefour, Airbus. I mean, City of Burbank. I imagine they're using it in very, very different ways. But
Yes.
but it'd be one interesting thing to say. Yeah, when you're flying an Airbus, that we keep the wings from falling off or some other thing. But
Yeah. So what we typically do is, number one, we have a discovery call up front so that I know which part are they interested in.
Yeah.
And then when we have a demo call, it might be an hour, it might be 2 hours. I prepare something. Either I pick a stock demo that we have and customize that a bit. Sometimes it even works like if I can offer, hey, we have a matching point that I can demo tomorrow. Or I can prepare something better for you for next week. Sometimes people just opt for tomorrow. And then how I open an hour quite often in the last times is that I explain what I'm going to do. I just give an agenda. So we'll go through, for example, the content management part in the first 10 minutes. Then we'll go into personalization, into integrating other platforms. Then we'll go for lunch. In the afternoon, we come back and then we cover the commerce features and how to set it all up in DevOps. For the rest of the week, we'll go, hold on. Oh, excuse me. I just hear we only have an hour. So I guess I'll have to severely limit myself and just pick a very small fraction of what we have. That's how I typically do that, or very often do that, if only to demonstrate that, or to show that just because I haven't demonstrated a particular feature doesn't mean it's not in.
Yeah.
But because we by far don't have any time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many capabilities in the platform itself. There's no one demo that works for everyone. Each organization will come in with different things that they need, whether they're looking for CMS capabilities or document management or hosting videos or hosting custom applications. They all have different requirements. So there's no one demo that we can show them on the platform that's going to check off the boxes that they are interested in. So we want to know the kind of things that they want to see, and then we show them how we can solve those things using Liferay. And most of the time, it's using out-of-the-box Liferay. We're at a point now where the capabilities on the platform with low code and objects and everything else that we support, fragments and whatnot, it's really easy to get solutions that work without having to invest a lot of money to make it happen.
So you don't go and say, well, this is how HP did it, or this is how Airbus did it. It's so customized to what any particular customer needs. You just go straight into it.
Yes.
It's either fully customized or like we have a starting point for an intranet. We have a starting point for a customer portal. We have a starting point for a manufacturing site that is more commerce heavy, and so on. So we can pick some. And sometimes I pick a demo to start with that is deliberately from a different industry because like it's a customer portal touching a different industry rather than the commerce site demonstrating the same industry that they're from. So
So I wonder if you guys are at the point of success or maturation, or maybe it doesn't apply, that there are other businesses that specialize in Liferay installation.
That's when
we,
you know
we
you've
actually
made
do.
it.
Yeah.
No, for as long as I'm with a company, we have a partner network. So the
Yeah.
company business is very purely on, or yeah, not exactly only, but mostly on, we're a product vendor. And the implementations are very often done by our partners, which is
Yeah.
independent companies that then go in by the hour and they implement on top of our platform. We have our own global services team, so there are internal consultants, but it's only a few areas in the world where we actually have them in order to do such projects. Mostly we use them, as far as I understand, might be different in different parts of the world. But I understand that we mostly use them to support the partners to do something like validating best practices and making sure that, for example, a site performs well, to stand by their site with performance tests, because we do performance tests all the time, and we might as well extend that to the partner network. Mm-hmm. So technically, we're the product vendor, and the partners, like the whole people that build on top of it, that's, I think, 150, 200 partners worldwide. So there is quite some business built on top of Liferay, which we're happy with. Yeah. So we're very happy to refer business to those partners.
And we do a lot of training with them and work with them in communications, so they have opportunities to provide feedback on how the platform is working for them and changes that they need. We really rely on our partners to handle the bulk of the implementations and to get the feedback from them in order to help improve and make the platform better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in thinking about everything that Liferay lets you do, I'm sure you have businesses that use this, or even people use this for something like a knowledge database, like an internal wiki. You have people that use it for customer management as well as public-facing websites. So like there's a bunch of different things that you could set up with the Liferay install. And I want to know, what are some of the weird and surprising things that y'all are aware of that people do with Liferay?
For me, the one example is the kids site with the games and the videos. I guess I can throw the name out there, Sesame Street. I mean, for a long time, they were hosted on Liferay. And, that's kind of a weird use, because, normally we're going in, we're doing enterprise sites, right? Yeah. So standard boxes, standard fonts, things like that. And the rules changed when Sesame Street was using our platform. Yeah. So for me, that's the weirdest one that I've seen based on the platform.
Yeah, Olaf?
They aren't using it anymore, though. Sadly, I loved referring to them because it was the most colorful site that I could point to back then. Yeah. I would say the weirdest question that I ever got, I think they never executed the idea, was by a manufacturer of some medical devices. I want to say something like MRI or like that scale of machines. Right. Who were asking for OEM licenses with support for a single user. So basically to build in a web server and a browser in kiosk mode into their device, and serve a single user on top of the platform, and just use it as basically the frame for the building blocks of, and being able to compose an application out of many different small elements that use the same infrastructure. Yeah. I'm not sure what came out of that, because I have learned about that long before I became a sales engineer and actually looked at the projects and had to basically sell them. Yeah.
All right, good answers. Okay, so now this is a hard question. You got to do some set math here. Is there anything that we did not, because we're getting close to in fact, we're past the bottom of the hour thanks to some technical difficulties at the beginning of the show. Is there anything that we didn't touch on, that we didn't ask you about, that you really wanted to let folks know about the project?
I think I've mentioned once or twice just the vocabulary, and those teams would be mad if we don't explicitly make sure that in all of the description of what Liferay is, we barely touched that there is a full-fledged commerce front end in there as well. So I managed to drop the commerce syllables sometimes, but in general, we did not talk about that aspect of the platform at all.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
And other than that, no, I could only tell you a funny story about the origin of the name.
So,
please do.
Yeah, I want to hear that for sure.
So I guess I have heard it at least 5 years ago, probably rather 10 years ago. So what came up to that is Brian, our founder, used to, met a guy in university, and his name is Ray. And they figured we're going to do something, like they had a business idea and they wanted to build something, and it was a medical device. Now, they were about to start a company, and Ray said, the only way I am going to create a company is if my name is in there. So they figured, hey, medical device, so what's it? It's Death Ray. I was like, no, that's a bad idea for a medical device. So what's the opposite? That's Liferay. So Brian was quick to just buy the domain. And then he never saw Ray again.
Huh. That's funny.
That's funny.
So when years later he had the project, he was like, "Oh, how do I name it? I got to pick a name for SourceForge back then, I believe. So what do I publish it as?" I was like, "Oh, I have this domain lying around, so let's use that."
That's great.
That's the story I've heard.
That's great,
and I believe it's true.
No, it sounds true. That's the sort of, yeah. Dave, is there anything that you want to cover that we didn't ask about?
Man, just if anyone wants to know more about Liferay, they can find us on our community Slack channel. Both
Okay.
Olaf and I are very prevalent on there, and would be happy to answer any questions someone might have.
All right. Very good. Now, I've got to ask each of you before we let you go. We'll start with Olaf. What is your favorite text editor and scripting language?
For the text editor, I'm promiscuous. I just use whatever is there. If I have to do, I'm on Kubuntu, and I'm happy to use KDE. Mm-hmm. If I need a full-fledged IDE, much to Dave's chagrin, I'm using Eclipse.
Okay.
And if I'm on the shell and I need an editor there, I open VI. But if my Git commit opens a Nano, who cares?
I know that feeling. And in scripting language?
I rarely do something, but I would say Bash.
That's fair. All right, Dave.
VI and Perl.
Ooh.
They're the go-to.
Oh, well.
Old school.
Old school, yes. All right. Excellent. Thank you guys for being here. And like I said, we got started a little bit late, but I think we made the time up. And goodness, it went fast. It was a lot of fun talking to you about it. And
it did.
A lot of fun to learn about Liferay, something I was completely unaware of, but really, really interesting, and apparently out there in a lot of places. So appreciate it.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. It was great. All right, Doc, what do you think?
It's interesting to me that, again, it's I think one of the largest enterprise. I mean, not enterprise. I guess it's a company. A project that I wasn't aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like you, I wasn't aware of it, and it's interesting. And it's interesting how many people are using it, and how well it seems to be working, and how capable it is, and how broad it is. All that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of like, it is all singing and dancing, and they can actually pull it off. So that's
what fascinates me about this is, like, so first off, it was the beginning of this project was so specific. It was one guy making a website for his church, but he said, well, this portals thing is popular. It's what's hot right now. Let me try to do that. And so that immediately, because they tapped into portals, immediately it was, like I said, it was sticky. Like, it's something that you see it and you immediately go, ooh, that's really interesting. And then it seems like what has happened over the years, and I should have asked him about this and didn't, it seems like there's been a lot of what we would normally refer to as feature creep. Like, oh, it would be cool if it did this. It would be cool if it had, a low code. It would be cool if you could drag and drop things. It would be cool if there were integrations. It would be cool if it could do this, that, and the other thing. And normally that kills a project. Like feature creep can make projects huge and unwieldy, but it seems like in this case, I guess this is because of the management at the top. They've managed that feature creep to where they now have this like cohesive set of features that people really like, and that's interesting to me. That as an open source project and as a business, that they've charted those waters so successfully, apparently successfully, as big as they are, and still making money. So.
And,
cool.
and funny that they were in a portals business. I mean, portal was like a big term back in the last millennium, And I remember I was at a party in San Francisco back when I lived in that area, and which I did for a long time. And it was in the late '90s, and there was this, all these young guys wearing black clothes and goatees, and like us here, we're the ones. But anyway, and it was overlooking San Francisco from up near Twin Peaks, and this guy, I just, you're just talking at this thing, and I said, so what do you do? He says, well, we have this new startup, and I said, oh yeah, what do you do? So we're an arms merchant to the portals industry, and I said, portals, it's an industry? He says, yeah, and he gave me nothing but BS about all the BS of the time, and I finally asked him, how were sales? Thinking that would be an insulting question. Because they were venture funded, right? And he said, they're great. We just closed our second round of financing for $25 million. And I thought it was an epiphany for me, because I realized, wait a minute, there are two ways a company, two markets for a company. One is for its goods and services, and one is for its own ass. I'm for sale. I'm going to go, But these guys, Liferay, I mean, they're not venture funded. I think that's actually very cool.
Yeah,
that they're entirely bootstrapped. It just works. That is really unusual. And they're not looking at an exit. And I'm telling you, as somebody who's encouraged development for a long time, and it always goes to venture, and it always the looking at the exit, looking at your way off this highway, where you don't even own the company anymore. The public owns, but you don't care. Yeah. You've got your cash. You got the boat in Florida now, or whatever it is, but the purely practical. This thing exists because it's a good thing. It works. It's growing in the world. It doesn't need to advertise itself heavily. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, fun project. Definitely one to keep our eyes on. All right, Doc, do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh my gosh!
I'll
plug IIW, because the Internet Identity Workshop is coming up at the end of October. Look up Internet Identity Workshop. I have a short. I pay for II Workshop every year, but it's so slow to go over there. But anyway, it's always full of people. A lot of great things happen there. It's relatively cheap as conferences go. It has no panels, it's all demo, and have fun with it and talk about your new idea. It doesn't have to be about identity either. So, and I'm very encouraged about this one, because we have some people who want to do the crap I've been telling them to do for 1,000 years. I mean, for our guests who are still listening in, I mean, I'm big at having markets work from the customer side. Let's equip the customers to be more powerful. And this is a real heavy in that space that wants to be there, and they're going to be there, and it's going to be really cool. Yeah. So that's a little tease. Anyway,
all right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's my promo.
So we've got something fun coming up next week. We're actually going to talk with John Britton from Homebrew, and they now have something new they call Work Brew, which is apparently so Homebrew is compiling and running like Unix and Linux applications on Mac OS. And it's been around for a long time. It's been very popular among the enthusiasts, people like me and you. But what Workbrew is taking that and making it more commercial friendly. And I'm really fascinated to find out what all is going on with that. We're talking with them next week. And then as far as things for me to plug, I've got my log scroll up right now. You can tell what I was messing with before the show. But normally what shows up here on this monitor is Hackaday. You can find my work at hackaday.com. We've got, that's the home of Floss Weekly, but it's also where my security column goes live every Friday morning, and the occasional other thing. The only other thing that I've got that I will let you know about is the Untitled Linux Show over at Twit, the Twit Network, twit.tv. And you can find ULS there to keep up with all of the news around Linux and some other open source and hardware stuff sprinkled in. We've kind of found our niche there, but make sure to check that out. Appreciate everybody being here, our guests. Appreciate Doc being here, and everyone watching and listening, both live and on the download. And we will see you next week on Floss Weekly.